Good morning. I'm not feeling fabulous this week because I'm on antibiotics. They make me really tired. It's for the bacterial infections I have and chronic fatigue. So today I'm going to share how I do a really low energy language learning routine. How do I keep up my languages when I'm feeling really blech? And I don't want to give the impression that you have to learn languages when you're feeling well. By all means, take a break. But this is just what I do when I have that little bit of energy to learn languages, but not enough to sit down for a serious study session. Right now I'm here at my favorite cafe, and I'm just going to show you a few things that I do that are nice and casual for my language learning journey. A cool resource that I'd like to recommend is the Language Reactor Google Chrome extension. Again, not sponsored. What they do is if you're watching something on Netflix, you can get a word list of the words that are showing up in the series, popular words. And if you're watching, you can also click on a word in a sentence to get its meaning. Now I'm just going through some flashcards. The reason I consider this a low energy activity is because I have gone through these flashcards already. I know most of the words. This is just a refresher for my mind. This might be funny, but honestly it has worked so well for me to try and see what kind of words I can recall from memory. In the car when I'm driving alone, I just say a bunch of words. This really helps when I'm a beginner to kind of see how much vocabulary I can remember.
Hoş geldin. Hoş bulduk. Hoş buldum. Seni seviyorum. Lütfen. Merhaba. Selam. Benim adım Lindie. Evet. Hayır.
Another thing that I do when I'm driving is to just put on a language learning podcast. Especially when I'm on the highway and I'm driving long distances, it's really good to just have this kind of background language learning playing. So if you're a beginner, I suggest a language learning podcast that teaches the language. If you're intermediate or advanced, just listen to a podcast that is in the language that you're learning, made for people who speak that language. Obviously, I cannot show you what it sounds like when I'm playing it because I play it on my phone with the aux cable in the car. But you can find podcasts on Spotify, Google Podcasts, the actual websites of the podcast. Just have a Google around and you will definitely find something. I am on the way to the doctor now. Honestly, these health issues are driving me crazy. I just want to be healthy. So a lot of people ask me, like, how many hours do I spend learning a language? And on days like these, as you can see, honestly, it is not a lot.
Oh, my dad is just driving in the gate now. He does not see me. He's like right next to me. Dad! Wow, my dad honestly did not look at who was driving, and he was just like, you know that thing people do when they thank another car?
Yeah, I mean, these days it's honestly not been a lot of language learning. I might spend like 20 minutes reading a book, about 15 to 20 minutes going through vocabulary on an app, and a lot of time listening. Honestly, I truly think that listening to a language is one of the best ways to learn it. I truly think that I was able to learn Korean, I don't know if I would say quickly, but to a good level by like watching a ton of Korean dramas when I was in high school. Just hearing these words over and over, being exposed to the pronunciation and stuff. But honestly, these days with like the health issues, it's not a lot. I don't want people to have this impression that like polyglots study all the time. You know, we have fun ways to learn languages, like going to language exchanges and both passive and active learning. Well, I can't really speak for other polyglots or avid language learners, but truly for me, not a ton of language learning every day. And I can feel it, like I can truly feel my language learning skills deteriorating a little. I am at the psychiatric hospital. I made it just on time, but I accidentally went to the wrong doctor. My brain is not braining today, but luckily they're not too far away from each other.
So on time and ready to go in. The key to low energy language learning for me is passive learning. So that is anything that you do that is not actively studying, such as working through a textbook or doing an online lesson. Passive learning could just be listening to podcasts, watching the show, listening to music, being in an environment where people are speaking the language so you can hear it, doing a bit of journaling, using the vocabulary and grammar that you already know, reading a book, talking to a friend, etc. Now, this is much easier on your brain because you don't need to worry so much about studying or remembering new things. You're just kind of keeping the language alive using the things that you already know. Now, we all know that you have to be practicing a language to remember it, for it not to go rusty and for you not to forget it. So even if you have low energy days, it's good to just do a little bit in the language so that you can kind of keep it alive every day. Another thing I like to use is the Drops app because it just gives you really basic vocabulary. It's not really as intense as another language learning app. Even for something like Duolingo, you kind of have to think hard if you're a beginner, but for Drops, it's just kind of an easy way to learn vocabulary. So especially if I'm a beginner, I like to use that. I know it's kind of like active learning, but it's not too difficult to go through. So that's another resource I recommend. When I make my bed or clean my room, sometimes I like to put on music in a different language. I can't play the music for you because of copyright stuff, but be assured that I do actually listen to music, podcasts, YouTube videos, or language learning lessons in another language. One of my favorite activities when I have really low energy, just want to lie in bed all day, is to lie in bed and read a book. I really like these graded readers, not sponsored, but they're made by Ollie Richards and they give you nice stories with vocabulary highlighted at your level and some questions at the end of a chapter. It's nice and short, so you can read like 1 or 2 stories a day. You can finish a story in a sitting. I like them so much that I've bought them in all of the languages that I am comfortable reading in. Here is my little collection. It's all the languages I can read in except Norwegian, which is still a beginner language for me. I want to work through these Norwegian books first before I try and read some graded readers in Norwegian. If you are interested in getting these books and you would like to support my channel, then I do have them all on my Amazon storefront. You can find it in the link of recommended books or recommended resources in the description or on my website. Obviously, I don't have a Turkish book, so I'm just going to read a French one. Oh, and another thing I like to do is to practice reading out loud. This helps me get kind of more comfortable with forming the words in my mouth, hearing myself talk, and if you really want to go the extra mile, you can record yourself speaking so that you can check your pronunciation. Sometimes when we listen back on ourselves and we're already intermediate and we kind of know how the language should sound, when you listen back, you're like, oh, I made a mistake there. I need to focus on these words. If you're wondering, like, how do you improve your pronunciation? There is a website, Forvo, where you can type in a word to listen to its pronunciation. Google Translate is kind of trustable on some languages. And then I also like to use the app called Hi Native, where I can upload an audio file and somebody can help correct my pronunciation.
Ne lui en voulait pas. Ma femme adore serrer le jonc dans ses bras, a-t-il expliqué. Mais moi, je vais vous serrer la main. Sa poignée de main était aussi forte que celle de Superman.
Je me suis souvenu du pauvre barman. Il faisait bien son boulot, mais il avait trop de monde à servir. Et je commençais. L'intérieur m'a beaucoup plu, mais il vous faudrait un deuxième barman au bar principal. Et je dis avec assurance.
Currently, I'm also reading Atomic Habits in Hungarian. What makes it a bit easier for me is that I have read this book in English, so I already know the content. I don't really have the English book with me, but I can find an ebook or something if I do actually need to compare pages or do a side-by-side analysis. So yes, it is a bit advanced for me, but I like to read a little bit above my level so that there are things that I can go through, and sometimes I'll just write down entire sentences in my notebook and kind of create a language learning
method and resource for myself.
Mindenki tartani akar valahová. Ha olyan családban nősz fel, ahol
Sokhoz képességet jutalmazák, a sokkozát nagy valószínűséggel.
So for the rest of the day, I might take a nap because I'm not feeling great, and I might just go through a few vocabulary words on drops. And then in the evening, I will probably watch a Turkish drama on Netflix. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it was interesting for you. If you have any tips for low energy language learning days, do let me know in the comments. If you like this video and want to see more language learning stuff, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!